Hello everyone, welcome to this session. I've just solved JEE Main Test 102 and here's the physics analysis. For me, 4 questions are tough. You might not find them tough, but these are, I thought would be require more calculation. 12 are medium, 9 and easy. This paper is actually calculative. The questions are not too tough, but questions are good. It will take time. It would be a good paper. If it had 1 or 2 very bouncer type question, it would have become an ideal paper. So going by this 9 and 6, my logic, that is 15. So again, up to 60 marks can be scored by the one who are looking good for physics and who are very good should get at least 75 plus in this particular paper also. So 60 you will get only if you can do the question selection very nicely. There are questions that can be directly done, and there will be some questions which might get you stuck. So the smartness is again in identifying your scoring areas. So that is today's analysis, and today evening probably at 5 p.m. I'll tell you more. I'm deciding to come out in a live session to address your last minute queries, how to handle the situation, what should be done in the last 48 or 72 hours before the exam. Do ask your questions in that session, and this would be my first live session interacting with you. So do join us around 5. I'll be putting up more details shortly on the channel. Thank you. Question number 1. Taking the wavelength of the first Balmer line in hydrogen spectrum as 660 nanometer, the wavelength of second Balmer line. So we typically remember the first 3 lines, 656, 486, 456. So if say instead of 656 it is given as 660, so that would be 486 closer, 488 I can directly take. Ideally you should solve, but these lines are very familiar, you should remember them, so you can save the time. Otherwise apply that Rydberg formula and just divide the 2 equations and you will get the answer. Next. 3 identical balls are connected by a light inextensible string with each other as shown and placed over a smooth horizontal table. Length of each string is L. Let moment t equal to 0. Ball B is imparted a velocity v0 normal to the string, and then the system is left on its own. The speed of A at the instant just before it collides with C will be, what would be its velocity at that particular direction? Okay. Now this is on a horizontal table, so nothing is vertical, there is no mg roll, it is on a table. B was given v0, so it will go up and it will go like this. So the speed of A at the instant just before it collides with C is. Now from constraints theory, you know, at any instant if I draw this like, so if its velocity is v, the B velocity is v, the velocity of A and C would be something like that their projections along the string length would be equal to the projection of this v along the string. So because the length is going to remain the same, so what we can say, the component of velocity of A towards B would be equal to component of B going away from A, because the length of the string is fixed. So the instant we are given is when they are about to touch. So when they are about to touch, it would be both the strings would be like this. I can draw like a single one. So what I can say, if its velocity is let's say v, its component here will also be v because the length will remain same. So one thing is clear, the component of A and C along the length of the string will be v, and let's assume their other components be v1 and v1 because by symmetry both will be same. So first of all, let's say let me call it x and let me call it y. So first of all, conserving momentum along the y axis, why we can say m into v0 was the initial momentum, finally all 3 having the speed v, that is 3mv, so v would be equal to v0 by 3 along the y axis. Now v1 is the component of the A and C along x axis, so that we can go by energy conservation because there is no external work being done. So what I can write, half m v0 square is equal to, B has only this velocity v square and the other one too will have 2m into this okay, v0 square by 9 directly I should write. So that is v0 square by 9 plus this v1 square I can write. So what we can do now, or we have to just find its speed, so we can write this complete factor also, so there is no issue. I can write this factor as the final velocity, whatever we can write. So what we have, m half gone, so v0 square minus v0 square by 9 is equal to 2 VA or VC square, let's say V required square we can say. So what it is, 8 V0 square by 9 divided by 2, that is 4 V0, increase the speed, V requires is 4 V0 square by 9, so that is 2 V0 by 3 go for option B in this particular case. That is how you can do this. So it's a nice question, just using the constraint logic. Whenever, remember, you have a fixed length, the components along that particular length, rod or string, must be same of the connected bodies. Particle is rotated about a vertical axis in the horizontal plane such that the angular velocity of the particle about the axis is constant and equal to 1 radian per second. Okay. Distance of the particle from the axis is given by this, where t stands for time. The speed of the particle as a function of time is going to be, okay, so angular speed is going to remain the same. So the linear speed, you can say, would be equal to v equals to omega r, that you all remember. So omega is fixed and r is r naught minus beta t. So the speed of the particle, this is r naught minus beta t, that is what we can write here. But this will basically gives us a velocity which is perpendicular, like let's say we can say this is the of the circular motion thing. But because the distance is changing, there will be a component here also, and it is decreasing basically. So it would be v parallel and it would be v perpendicular. So it is v perpendicular, v parallel will be equal to this dr by dt, that comes out as minus beta is because it is would be invert. I just check the magnitude. So the velocity would be equal to this beta square plus r naught minus beta t whole square. That is what you can write. So it would be a not exactly a circular motion, it would be basically, you can say, spiraling inverts type of motion, and we can have both type of velocities, normal like the exact circular one, and the v parallel which changes the radius. So we can do like this. Next, in an experiment to measure the internal resistance of a cell by potentiometer, it is found that the balance point is at length 2 when the cell is shunted by a 4 ohm resistance, 3 when it is shunted by 8 ohm resistance. The internal resistance of cell is okay. So when shunted by 4 ohm, the EMF measured would be E into 4 upon 4 plus R, and that is equal to X into 2. That is the logic you use for the potentiometer. In the second case, it would be E into 8 upon 8 plus R, that is equal to X into 3. So what you will do, you will divide X and X goes, E and E goes. So what you are left with, this is 4 by 8, that is 1 by 2, and this would be 8 plus R upon 4 plus R, that comes out as 2 by 3. So what we have, this will become 4 by 3. So 4 by 3 into 4 plus R, it is 8 plus R. So 8 plus R is 16 by 3 plus 4R by 3. So what you have, 8 minus 16 by 3, that is 8 by 3, would be equal to R by 3. So R comes out as 8 ohms directly. You can go for it. This is option B here. Next, the frequency of oscillation of the current in the inductor is. So what would be the frequency? So it is simply an LC circuit. These two are in parallel, so this would be 3C. These two are in series, so it would be 3L. So directly what we can say, that omega naught is equal to 1 upon root LC. Root LC here becomes 3L into 3C, that is 1 upon 3 root LC, that is omega naught. So frequency would be that divided by 2 pi. So go for option B, not for A. A is the angular frequency, we are asked the frequency. Next, 4 parallel large plates separated by equal distance d are arranged. Area of each is S. Find the potential difference between B and C if the plate B is given a charge Q. Okay. So now what you have given? You have given B a charge Q, and the rest of the outer ones are given as what you can say they are earths. So in typical case, what we would have Q by 2 and Q by 2 here, but because of being earth, these will definitely become 0. So these two will go to ground. So these two will go to ground for sure. So now what you will have here, so because it is Q here and this is grounded here, I can typically take it as A and B as a capacitor and write it this capacitance as C naught, and because it is a metal plate, it doesn't matter. So it is B and D. I can write it this as this would be double the distance, so it is C naught by 2 between B and D I can go for, and this is grounded. So this is grounded now. So whatever we can do, what we will do here now. So because the potential difference between these two is going to remain the same, so I can directly say its capacitance is half, potential difference is same, therefore its charge would be half. So Q by 3 will be here, 2Q by 3 will be here. Here what you will have here as minus 2Q by 3, and here you will have minus Q by 3. That is how the charge will be distributed. So the charge is going to be distributed like this. So this potential drop between B and D, that is going to be what we can say Q by C. So that is Q by 3 upon C naught by 2, or you can write it as 2q upon 3 c naught. C naught is epsilon naught a by d. So this is 2q d upon 3 epsilon naught a. Now this is the potential difference between B and D. From symmetry between B and C would be half of this. That would be qd upon 3 epsilon naught a or s, whatever you can write. So going by these options, this is option A. So it's a nice question. You have to think in this logic of capacitance, and this is basically a parallel one. You can say it is between A and B, and this is also between A and B, because D and A are effectively the same potential points because both are grounded. Next one. Two tangent galvanometers A and B have coils of 8 and 16 cm and resistance 8 ohm. They are connected in parallel with a cell of EMF 4 volt and negligible internal resistance. The deflection produced in the tangent galvanometer are 30 and 60 respectively. If A has 2 turns, then B must be. So first of all, what we can say in the first one, let's say in A, 1030 would be equal to B produced by coil A upon BH, and similarly 1060 is equal to B produced by B upon BH. So what we do, if I divide it, it would be 1 by 3 is equal to BA by BB. Okay. So now both have coils radius 8 and 16, or radius is different, resistance is the same, they are connected in parallel with a cell of EMF. That means that because they both are parallel and both are having the same resistance, the current is going to be same in one. So in A, the field would be mu naught number of turns NA into I would be same upon 2 R of A. It would be mu naught NB I upon 2 R of B. So I mu naught goes. So what we have, number of turns in B, I can write it as 3 times number of turns in A into RB by RA. So in terms of A is 2 and RB by RA, what we are getting is 2 is to 1. So it is 3, 2, 6, 12 is to 1 that we are getting. So this would be 12 turns that you can go for. Next. Electric heater is placed inside a room of total wall area 137 meters square, maintained at temperature 20 degree. Inside, outside is -10. Wall is of 3 materials. Innermost is wood, middle is cement, and exterior is 25 centimeter thick of brick. Assuming no loss is heat through anyway, the power of the electric heater is. Now power of heater would be the rate of heat loss. Now I can check this these two. Let it be R1, R2, R3. So all are in 3. So first of all, series. So R1 would be what we can say, we have length we are given. Yes, length we are given, that is 2.5 centimeters. So it is 0.025 L upon K. K of this is 0.125 into 137 L upon Ka that we have written. This is R1. R2 similarly would be 1 centimeter, that is 0.01 upon cement is 1.5 into 137. R3 would be 25 centimeter, that is 0.25 upon 1 into 137 that we have got. Okay. So the total heat loss would be, we can write as delta T by R, that is R1 plus R2 plus R3. So if I add them, this R I can write as, if I sum up, it is 1 upon 137, I can take as common. This would be 25 upon 125. This would be 1 upon 150, that I write like this, plus this is 25 by 100, that is what we get. So it is 1 upon 137, it would be 1 by 5, that is 0.2. 1 by 150, 1 by 150, if I have to do, or keep it like this only, keep it in this only, that would be better, I suppose. So 150, 125, again it would be going to be tough. So better, okay, do it like this, 0.2, 1 by 150 would be what we had, 0, and again 0. So 0.00, 1000 will give us 6,900 and then 100, so that would be 0.066, whatever you can write it, plus 0.25 I can write. So it comes out as 0.4566 upon 137. So delta T would be, delta T you are given at 20 and -10, that is 30. 30 into 137 upon 0.4566. So this is the amount of heat loss, and this is need to be replenished. So if I do this replenishing, so what we will get here, so 137 into 3, that is basically what you have, 130, 390, 390, that would be 400 something, and it would be twice of that. So 4000 into twice of that. So again calculation are going to be not that easy, you will have to do this. So how to do this? This is not going to be a good one. 0.4566. So this is approximately, if I do, it would be 2 point something 1 upon 4.566. If I do this, let's say 0.46, take it for simplicity, so it would be 292 and that would be 80 left, so it would be 2.1 and this is 46 and then we have left with 44, so 440, that would be 2.19 I suppose. So 2.19 into 137 into 3, 3 7s are 1, 3 3s are 9, 11, and this is 4110 into 2.119, 2.19, or you can do 2.2, so 2.2 into 22 into 1 is 22, 22 4, 22 4 is 88 and 290, so 9042, so approximately 9000, that is what we are getting from my calculation. So I'll go for 9000, though it's a calculator one. Next, liter of dry air at STP allowed to expand to a volume of 3 liter under adiabatic conditions. If gamma is 1.4, the work done is going to be, so liter of dry air is allowed to expand. So if it is allowed to expand, what we can say, the work done is going to be at STP. So initial pressure is equal to 1 atm. So what we will have, 1 atm into 1 liter to the power 1.4 would be equal to P final into 3 liter to the power 1.4. So P final is 1 upon 3 to the power 1.4, that is you can say 1 upon 4.655, that is the final pressure. Now work done is Pi Vi minus Pf Vf over gamma minus 1, that is the result you use. So 1 atm is 10 to the power 5, I can write approximately. V initial is 10 to the power minus 3, P final is 10 to the power 5 upon 4.6555 into 3 into 10 to the power minus 3 divided by gamma minus 1, that is 0.4. So what you have got, this is 10 to the power 2, I can take as common, 1 minus 3 upon 4.6555 upon 0.4 you can write as 2 by 5, so 5 goes there. So what we will get now, again calculations, these are not leaving us. This is 1.6555 upon 4.6555, so 16 upon 46, that would be approximately, not going to be good, this would be 8 by 23 we are getting, so it is a 250 I can write into 8 by 23, so it would be 10 or 11, you can say 11 into 8 would be 88 something, so go for 90.5. that is my style of approximating. You can do whatever you wish, I am sure it would be 90.5. A charged particle enters a uniform magnetic field with a velocity vector at 45 degree with the field. The pitch of the helical path is p, the radius of the helix is going to be, so pitch you say is v parallel into t. So v parallel would be v by root 2 because cos and sine will be same, and t is 2 pi m by qb, and the radius would be equal to mv perpendicular, that is mv by root 2 into q by. So v by root 2 upon qb, if I write, it would be v by root t upon q can be written as p upon 2 pi m from here. So what we are left with, this goes, so what we are left with, this is p by 2 pi, that is the answer that we are going to get. This is option C. So just a basic application asked very nicely. Particle is moving in the xy plane with a constant speed v0 such that the y displacement is given by okay like this, where vx is component of velocity along the x-axis. At some instant x, component of its velocity is positive and the slope of the tangent on its path is minus 1 by root 3. Then the displacement of particle in the y direction at this instant is going to be, okay, so slope of the curve dy by dx can be written as dy by dt upon dx by dt, so that you can always write it as vy by vx, that is what you can write, and this is vy by vx that you have, and the slope at this instant dy by dx is given as minus 1 by root 3, that is vy by vx. So what we can write, vx can be written as minus root 3 times vy in this particular case, okay. Now what we have now, the speed is always constant, so vx square plus vy square is equal to v0 square for always. Now you have to find the displacement, so I can search for vx, so I should calculate the vx thing, so I should write vy as vx by root 3, so vx square plus vx square by 3 is equal to v0 square, so vx comes out as root 3 v0 by 2. Put it, y would be alpha e to the power minus 2 vx, vx is what you have, root 3 v naught by 2 upon root 3 v naught. You are lucky, everything get cancelled. So this is alpha by e, that is alpha e to the power minus 1. Go for option A in this case. So again a slightly good confusing one, but you can do this. In a figure, the mass of the ball is 9 by 5 times the mass of the rod. Okay, this is the ball and this is the rod. Length of the rod is 1 meter. The level of the ball is same as the rod level. Find out the time taken by the ball to reach at the upper end of the rod. So again, it's a nicely designed one. So let this tension be T, this will be T, this will be 2T, and this will be 2T that you can do. Now, one more thing. The mass of the ball is 9 by 5 times the mass of the rod. So the ball's mass is clear. So it's clear that it is having T, it is having 2T. So let's assume which will be going down. So let's assume the rod goes down. So if it goes down with AR acceleration, so what will happen? Look, if it goes a distance x, this pulley has to shift x by 2. So this has to go by x by 2. So that means its acceleration would be AR by 2 upwards, we can say. So its acceleration would be half of it. Now, so solving it, mass of rod into G minus T would be equal to mass of rod into A of rod, and 2T minus mass of ball into G would be equal to mass of ball into acceleration of ball is AR by 2. So what we can do, 2, 2, 2, and now add. So 2 times mass of rod into G minus mass of ball is 9 by 5. So we will have the same direction. I have assumed that direction to be same. That is coming out as good enough. So 2 mr plus mb by 2 will become 9 by 10 mass of rod into A. So first of all, what is A? That is A of rod. Let me solve it. 10 minus 9, that is 1 by 5. So this is mrg by 5, and this would be 29 by 10 mr. So mr goes, it is 50 g by 29. If I no, it is not 50 g by 29. It would be 2 g by 29. That is the acceleration of the rod. So what would be the relative acceleration, because both are above opposite? So 2g by 29 plus half of it, that would be g by 29, that is 3g by 29. So the time taken to relatively cover 1 meter of distance, because to cross this would be this. So half 3g by 29 into t square is equal to 1. So t square is 58 by 30. This is 58 by 30. So if I solve it, this comes out as 1 point. What you have, 28 is 7. 7 if we do, this is 7, that means 57, and we have 10 now. So this would be 100. So 1.73, that is something we are getting. So t square is 1.73. So t is root of 1.73. So it would be 1.3 something I can go for. So it is approximately going to be 1.3. So I'll go for 1.4 second. That is the closest one I am getting. How much uranium is consumed in a day in an atomic power operating at 400 megawatt, provided the whole U-385 is converted into energy? So in a day, the energy produced would be 400 into 10 to the power 6 joule per second into 1 day has 24 hours, and an hour has 3600 seconds, that much joule, and that would be equal to delta M that would be consumed in kg into c square, 9 into 10 to the power 16. So this mass consumed would be 6, 8, 10 and 16. So it is 10 to the power minus 6. 4 into 24 into 36 by 9. This comes out as 4. 16 into 24. So 16 into 24 into 10 raised to the power minus 6 kg, or in grams I can write it as 16 into 24 into 10 to the power minus 3 grams. 16 4s are 64, 16 2s are 32, 384. So it is 0.384 grams that you can go for. So this is option A perfectly coming. So this is 0.384 gram. Two particles of same mass have their de Broglie wavelength ratio k:1. Their potential energies are 1:k square. The ratio of their total energies are going to be, so the ratio of their total energies are going to be, so first of all we can say this lambda A upon lambda B, we know lambda is h by mv or h by root 2 mk. So this would be equal to root of kb by k. So kinetic energy of B to kinetic energy of A would be k square by 1. That is the first thing. And UA by UB is given 1:k square. So what we will have, energy of A upon energy of A would be K of A plus U of A. So I can write as a kinetic energy of A, let's say, be X, that will become K square X, and U of A, let's say U of A would be Y, because it would be like, let's say this ratio be Y, and that would be K square Y. So EB would be KB plus UB, so KB would be equal to K square X by the same logic, and that would be K square by Y. So it is directly K square X plus Y, that is, you can say K square times e to the power A directly, you can say. So the ratio of EA by EB would be 1 by K square. You can directly go for it because both energies are in the same ratio, you can say effectively. So total energy will also be in the same ratio. You could have made it from there only. We have a wooden stick, length L, radius R. Density rho has a small metal piece of mass m attached to its one end. Find the minimum value of mass m that would make the stick float vertically in a stable equilibrium in a liquid of density rho. Okay, to float vertically in a stable equilibrium, that is what you are required. Okay, now here the question should read stable. Yes, they have given a stable equilibrium. So what we know, in a stable equilibrium, the center of gravity, what we write, the center of gravity should be below the center of buoyancy, otherwise the restoring torque won't be generated. So center of gravity should be below the center of buoyancy. So what we can do here, so the way that we will be do, so it should be equilibrium, center of gravity should be below the center of buoyancy, that we can say. And what we can do now, the center of gravity, first of all, if I have it vertically, let's say like it is vertically floating like this, something like that, whatever be the height in it. So center of gravity, first of all, it is attached to one of the end, definitely it would be attached at the lower end. So let's say this is M and this is M. So what we will have, or its mass would be rho L into pi r square. So the location of center of gravity with respect to the lower end would be M into 0 plus what we can say it, this would be rho into what we can do, rho L pi r square into L by 2, that would be its center of mass, divided by M plus rho L pi r square. That is what we can get as h of Cm. This is the height of Cm. That is what we can do. So this is how what we will have. Now if the h length is inside it, this the center of buoyancy would be at this point, this is h by 2. So what we need, this h by 2 it should be, let's say, greater than this h of Cm in this particular case. So h by 2 should be greater than h of Cm, or in the limiting case we can write this h by 2 is equal to HCm. So in the limiting case, h by 2 is equal to this rho L pi r square into L by 2 upon M plus rho L pi r square. This is the first equation. And next, because it is floating, so what we can say, the buoyant force acting would be density of fluid, that is rho into the volume submerged, that is pi r square into h into g. That should be equal to what we can say, that is equal to the total mass, that is M plus rho L pi r square g. That is what we have. So putting the value of what we need and what we minimum value of M, so put the value of h from here. So what we can do, this is sigma pi r square g, and h what we can write as, this 2 and 2 get cancelled, rho L square pi r square upon M plus rho L pi r square would be equal to M plus rho L pi r square into g. So this g goes cancelled, and what we are left with, this small m value we are searching for. So first of all, what we can do here, if I have to solve it, okay, this is getting some complicated, let me try it. What we will have, this is a sigma pi square rho L square r to the power 4 we are getting, okay, and this would be M plus rho L pi r square whole square, that is what we are getting. So take the root here, it would be root rho sigma pi L r square would be equal to M plus rho L pi r square. So this M would come out as, what we can take it out common, if I take it out common, L pi r square, that is coming, and as per the options I take this rho also common. So now what we will have, 1 minus or we will have this side, sorry, sigma upon rho, it would be sigma upon rho minus 1, that is what we are getting. So going by this option, All are looking same. No, not all are same. Let me check. So what would be? Yes, option C is the only one which we are getting. So it's a very nice question, and this is perhaps if one of my student called me just to understand this concept yesterday. So remember this concept, center of gravity should be below the center of buoyancy, and I told him that such questions are rare to come in JEE Main, and it has come today. Now an object is kept at a distance of 16 cm from a thin lens and the image formed is real. If the object is kept at a distance of 6 from the same lens, the image formed is virtual. If the size of the image formed are equal, the focal length of the lens will be. Now this is a very nice one. So focal length would be greater than 6 and it would be less than 16 for sure. Because in the virtual case we say we can make it out that this is what we have. This is a convex lens we are having, and this would be magnified, so that would also be magnified. So it is between f and 2f. So it is between f and 2f we can make out, but let's say magnification both the cases we are equating the magnification. So what we do, the magnification is equal to v by u in the case of the lens, and what we have 1 by v minus 1 by u is 1 by f. So v is equal to uf upon u plus f, so it comes out as f upon u plus f. So in both the cases the magnification is same, magnitude will be same. Actually in the one case it would be negative, in the one case it would be positive. So it would be negative in the case of this 16 one. So what I can write, so I do that negative first of all to equate with, so that f upon minus 16 plus f would be equal to this f upon 6 plus f. So what you get now, this f and f get cancelled, so minus 6 minus f is minus 16 plus f. So you get 10 is equal to what we have, this 10, if I am not done it incorrectly, wait a minute, I have done it wrong, because it is not 6, it is minus 6 also. Now do this, 6 minus f is equal to minus 16 plus f. So what you have, 30, not 32, this is 16 plus 6, this comes out as 22 is equals to 2f. So f comes out as 11 centimeters. So now this is the option B we will go for. Now next one, uniform solid sphere, mass m, radius r, having mi about an axis through the center I, recast into a uniform thick disk of t whose mi about the edge and perpendicular to its plane remains I. So first of all, I is equal to 2 by 5 mr square. Now it is recasted, that means 4 by 3 pi r cube would be equal to its radius be small r, that would be equal to pi r square into t, that you can say. This is the first thing we will have. Now so what we have to do, it is recast into a disk. Now the mi remains same, that I about the edge and perpendicular to its plane would be this m will remain same. So mr square by 2 plus mr square you can do by parallel access theorem. So that is 3 by 2 mr square. So 3 by 2 mr square is 2 by 5 mr square. So what we have this directly, okay, we need not to do that, it is exactly coming out same because masses are same. So this r square comes out as 4 by 15 of r square. So r comes out as 2 by root 15 r. Directly you can go for option B in this case. I think this is also a repeated one from previous test. For an AM wave, the maximum amplitude is 10 while the minimum is 2, the modulation index is. So what we can say, this AC plus AM, sorry, that should be right, AC plus AM or VC plus AM, what you can say upon AC minus AM, that is equal to 10 by 2 because that is max and min. So what we get, 2AC plus 2AM is 10AC minus 10AM. We should have simplified it there also, no issues. So 8AC is equal to 12AM. So what we have, AM upon AC directly, that is modulation index, that is equal to 2 by 3 for sure. So go for option A, that is the modulation index. 8 by 12, that is 2 by 3. It's easy one from the communication. Two uniform brass rods, length L2L, radii 2R are respectively heated to same temperature. The ratio of the increase in volumes will be, so the volume is equal to the rod, you will say pi r square L. So delta V by V would be equal to twice of delta R by R plus delta L by L. Okay, so the ratio of the increase in volume will be, so what we can make it out, are heated to the same temperature, because we will assume them to be, let's say, uniform something, so these things will remain same. So and these factors will be remaining same, so directly we can compare from the volume, no need to do this side. You can directly write delta V is equal to gamma V delta T. So gamma and delta T are same, so delta VA upon delta VB, VB would be equal to VA upon VB, that is pi into 2R whole square into L upon pi into R square into 2L. That ratio comes out as 2:1. So that's an easy way, no need to go there. Next one, If gravitational constant, Planck constant, speed of light considered as fundamental physical constant, then the dimensional formula of time will be. So first of all, what is this g? G you know as a f r square upon m square type of thing. So if I do this, this will come out as m minus 1, this will become L3, and this will become t minus 2. And this Planck's constant is energy upon frequency, that is ml2, and it would become a frequency, so inverse of time period, so ml2 t minus 1, and this c you know is lt minus 1. So you need the dimensional formula of a time, so mass should be cancelled, so g into h must be there, so g and h must have the same power, so must have the same power for sure. So g and h have same power, so these two are rejected. Now these two are there. Now check for the power of c. So both are half and half. Half and half means this is minus 1 and this is minus 1 by 2, that is minus 3 by 2. So you need now plus 5 by 2. So for plus 5 by 2 it would be c minus 5 by 2. So go for A. You can do by the regular method I have done by observation. Earth has uniform density radius. R value of acceleration due to gravity at distance d above the surface is same as acceleration d below the surface. If d is this, then find the value of x. So d above the surface is same as acceleration due to gravity at distance d below the surface. So at a distance d above, we write it as gm upon r plus d whole square, and distance below we write it as gm r minus d upon r cube. So gm goes, so r cube is equal to r plus d whole square into r minus d. You can write it like this. So what we can do here, r cube is, okay, this is going to be a cubic equation, not going to be an easy thing for us to simplify, but we will do. So it would be r plus d into r minus d, I can write as r square minus d square. So what we will have, this would be r cube minus d square r plus d into r square minus d cube, that is r cube. So r cube goes, so okay, 1 power of d will go, so we are lucky. So what we have, d cube plus d square r minus dr square is equal to 0, d common, d square plus dr minus r square is equal to 0. So d is 0, that is not an answer. So quadratic equation minus r, I don't take the negative values, only plus. So it would be r square plus 4r square by 2. So it is coming out as minus 1 plus root 5 by 2r. Comparing it, it would be 5. So nicely designed one. You can do some mathematics for you. Next, you have a block of mass m placed on a smooth horizontal surface pulled by a light spring as shown in the diagram. The ends A and B of the string are going with 4 and 2 respectively, and the rate at which energy of the spring is increasing is 20 joule second. What is the value of the spring? Now spring energy you write as half kx square. So spring energy is half kx square. So du by dt, if I do, it would be half k, it is 2x dx by dt. So this 2 goes, this is kx, that is the force, into dx by dt. Dx by dt is rate at which the separation is changing or the length is increasing. That will depend on the relative speed of A and B. It is going with 4, it is going with 2. That means this x is changing at the rate of, you can say, 2. So it would be f into 2, that is equal to du by dt, that is given as 20 joule per second. So this f comes out as 10. So go for option 10 here. So answer will be 10 here. Next one. In YDSE, that is a Young double slit experiment, a beam of light consists of two wavelengths. Minimum distance measured where the bright fringe due to both will coincide will be. So what you can say, first would be n1 lambda 1 d by d should be equal to n2 lambda 2 d by d. So what we have, n1 by n2 would be lambda 2 by lambda 1, that is 56 by 40. 56 by 40 is what you can write as 14 by 10, that you can write as 7 by 5. So the n1 would be 7, that you can directly make it out. So answer is going to be 7. That's an easy one to be asked for you. Now the last two one. Certain radar operates at a wavelength 50 if the beat frequency between the transmitted and the signal reflected is 1 kilohertz, and what would be the velocity of the aircraft? So what would be the velocity of the aircraft? So what we can directly make it out, the frequency received by aircraft would be equal to f naught, because it is coming towards it. So it is v plus v of aircraft upon v of sound. And now what the frequency that would be reflected and heard by this radar again, that would be f naught, v upon v minus v of aircraft. You can make it out. So the difference would be this f reflected minus f naught, that would be equal to what we can make, not f naught, this is f received. So it would be what we can say, this becomes f naught v plus v of aircraft upon v minus v of aircraft minus f naught. And what we can make it out, if the speed of the aircraft is not that large, I don't know if we can do that. Let me try it. This is 1 kilohertz, that is 10 to the power 3. And what is f naught? F naught we can write as c by not c, sorry, that is v by lambda. That what we can write as v by lambda, that would be equal to v plus v of aircraft upon v minus v of aircraft minus 1. Then what would be the velocity of the aircraft? Now radar is operating okay, so it sends electromagnetic waves, so v would be c, that is I was wrong, so I was right initially. It would be c and it would be c, so it would be c, so definitely the speed is going to be very less than c. So I can directly write that approximation. This would be 3 into 10 to the power 8 upon 0.5. I can directly write it as 1 plus x, 1 minus x. It will directly come out as, if you do this or you do whatever you have done right now, cc will cancel. It would be 2 times v of aircraft. C minus v of air would be approximately c only, so this cancelled. So it is 4 times v of aircraft is 10 to the power 3. So v of aircraft would be 10 to the power 3 by 4. I can make it out. This would be the velocity, but this would be in meter per second, so if I have to convert it, it would be 18 by 5. So what we have, this is 1000 into 18 upon 20 I can write, so it is 900. I can make it out, 900 kilometer per hour. So you can do like this. Now the next one, rubber ball is dropped from the height of 5 meter on the plane and bounces back to height of 1.8, coefficient of restitution. We know the h after bounce would be e square times h, that you directly remember. So e square will come out as 1.8 by 5, that is 0.36. so e comes out as 0.6. Directly you can go for 0.6. That is today's paper. Thanks for watching.